I also wanted my mum to like see that picture and just be like proud of like her sacrifices and stuff. So like, just literally just be normal. So for example, like I think a lot of people have watched those investment banking videos, like how to work in a group exercise and stuff. So it's like they'll be like, okay, everyone might try and be the leader, so you should try and be the timekeeper. That's the advice that they'll give you in those videos. So everyone will be like, oh, I'm gonna be the timekeeper. Like, but so my mum, it's not a sad story, but it's like it's not a happy story. So when my mum was like pregnant with me, she didn't really have a lot of money, and she was like fortune can't be really controlled, I guess. Like, so unless you could do sport or be a rapper or something, it's like that was like the pinnacle of the black community. It's like these were if you would say like, oh, the richest black people would list you a footballer or a rapper, and it's just like I can't rap and I'm bad at football, so it's just like what's left for me? Like, if it's Mother's Day and they talk about, oh, tell me the things you love about your mum, the things they'll describe is like you've actually just described like a maid. Like, it's been a good interview. Yeah, I like this.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my podcast, Coffee's on Me, David Quan, where I strive to give guests legacy-worthy interviews that listeners can enjoy while cooking, commuting, relaxing, or walking their pets. Of course, it's also about the coffee, or tea, or soft drink, or only water tonight. I'm so grateful that we've had over 1,000 downloads. But this passion project, of course, is not about quantitative metrics. It has simply been a delight having genuine conversations and learning from all the interesting guests. So thank you to everyone who continue to engage and support. If you have been enjoying it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts, please do consider leaving a review and nominating a guest. So today I'm excited to have with me Fortune Isoka-Onwordi. Fortune is a first-year land economy student at Magdalene College, Cambridge. He grew up in Watford and attended a state school. Having navigated predominantly white institutions throughout his life, Fortune has gained a unique experience in the ways black people show up in these spaces from academia to the corporate world. Through this, he has learned the importance of having a true knowledge of self and confidence in one's culture and history in being successful in any field. Fortune hopes to pass this on and inspire others to thrive in spaces not meant for them. Growing up, Fortune was very observant of the issues in his community, and it led him to question and seek answers as to what the root of these problems are and how they can be fixed on an economic, social and psychological level. Fortune is passionate about African development progression and tries to incorporate this into his studies in any way, even if this involves stretching the reading list. As a member of the Bank of England Youth Forum, Fortune is actively looking for ways to tackle the obstacles and barriers to economic progression faced by many groups in the UK. Outside of this, Fortune enjoys competing in athletics. Fortune, welcome to my podcast, Coffee's on Me, David Quan.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am very excited to have you here, Fortune. I promise, because you had already listened to a few episodes of my podcast, that I will start somewhere different. Tell me about your name, Fortune.
Okay, I get this question a lot actually. So my mum, it's not a sad story, but it's not a happy story. So when my mum was like pregnant with me, she didn't really have a lot of money, and she was like, I'm gonna name my child Fortune, and like maybe one day he'll bring me fortune, and I guess I'm on the route, hopefully. So yeah.
Right. That's fascinating. And growing up, did a lot of people ask that?
Yeah, a lot of people ask, what's the meaning of your name? Like, why are you called Fortune? Or like, if people were from Nigeria, they were like, okay, you're definitely from this certain tribe, which is like the Igbo tribe, because they're known for like their parents naming their children after like just random things or things they hope to achieve. Like I had someone I grew up with and their name was Landlord. Literally, yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, that's how it really works.
Right. So what does Fortune mean to you then?
I think it means like, the thing is like, basically my first name is Fortune, then my middle name, which is like my Igbo name, is Nkenjika, and that translates to like what I have is enough, or like what God has done for me is enough. So it's kind of like, my name's Fortune, and like, okay, like bring you fortune, but then also remember to be grateful, like what I have is enough, So I think it's a good balance, the two names together. If it was just Fortune, maybe I'll just be so money hungry, I don't know.
That's a wonderful combination and balance. And on the note of what to be grateful for, you're someone, I think, there's a lot going on for you, and there's a lot perhaps to be grateful for. And maybe let's start on your Easter holiday. I saw lots of update of you going through London, Canary Wharf, internships, opportunities. What have you been up to?
So, I think the first thing I did in Easter was we had like a meeting with the Bank of England where we just kind of like ran through our plans, what we're trying to like achieve in the coming year. It's kind of like we got together as a group and we discussed the different things we're trying to do. And then from then on, it was kind of like I tried to hit the library quickly because I know when I get back, I'm going to have to do some stuff. And I know that I have these 2 spring weeks coming up. So let me just try and hit the library. So I was going to LSE library like every day, trying to just get some work done quickly because I knew that the spring weeks, I wanted to enjoy them. So like the first spring week was JP Morgan. That one was really good actually. Like, I don't know what I was really expecting before I went, but it wasn't that. Like, I don't know. I thought that the culture would be a lot worse, to be honest, but it was good. Like, I liked the experience. It was enjoyable. Like, it was I think it was really good, and like met a lot of people, like-minded people different from different backgrounds as well. I think it was really good. Then the next week I had Credit Suisse as well, so I had to the weekend between JP and Credit Suisse, I was like, okay, let me hit the library again because I know I have these coursework projects due and Cambridge doesn't rest for anybody, so I was like, let me try and hit the library again. Then the second spring we started, and that one was also really good. I did notice a difference between the 2 banks though. Like, the culture was different, but both of them were like good in their own way, so whichever one converts, we'll see.
Well, congratulations on securing a couple spring weeks, and for those listening who perhaps aren't too familiar with what spring weeks are, but I think in short, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like the recruiting pipeline for the banks. So spring weeks are usually for first year students on a 3-year degree, or for second year students on a 4-year degree, and their idea is once you get selected, you have that week, a spring week, where you learn about the firm's culture, you network, and if you do well, they might fast track you to secure a summer internship. Yeah. And then if you do well on a summer internship the following summer, then you could possibly get a full-time job offer before the start of your final year of university, which is quite an attractive option for many people.
I would also add that the spring week was basically like a 4-day interview. That's what it felt like, to be honest. Like, it did feel like an interview at some times, which was the intense part. You did notice it, like, so like, anyone have a question? Like 500 hands will shoot up straight away trying to ask any question, because it's like people really were trying to convert. So that was the only thing. It did really feel like a interview, but I don't know. It was good as well.
That's really interesting. Well, I have never done a spring week, so why don't you tell me more about what that spring, or what the 2 spring weeks entailed?
So I think the JP Morgan one was more like informative, like, so they would just kind of like tell us about the different business roles, and then like they were like observing how we operate basically. So I remember the recruiting lead, she did say that most things we do are going to be watched, or like, yeah, exactly. She's like, most things you do will be watched, or like make sure you pay attention, make sure you're putting your hand up, asking good questions. If there was like group exercises, so for example, the asset management one, we had a case study, so we had to do that in groups, and like they were watching what you were doing, like to make sure, and like they were receiving feedback from anyone that was in the panel, or like anyone that you interacted with, just trying to see like, did this person leave an impression on you. So I think that part, JP Morgan one did feel more like a 4-day interview, I would say. But then at CS, that one was a lot more like, the first day we had like a whole 2-hour long, or even like 3-hour long session teaching us the fundamentals of banking, the technicals. We had a lot more like simulations on that one. We did IPO pitches and stuff. So that one, I think I learnt more from the CS one, but both of them were good, to be honest. But yeah, I think the JP Morgan one did feel more like a 4-day interview, but that's because they said that they're not gonna like give out a lot of fast tracks interviews, but I think CS, they gave basically everyone the fast track interview. I'm not sure, I don't know, but I think they did give it to everyone.
What was one thing from each firm that you learnt that you didn't previously know?
I mean, at CS, at JP, I learned they have like a digital innovation division, which I didn't know that they had. and that's like the division that I asked to be fast tracked into, because they look at kind of like fintechs, what's going on in that space, and like they look at how they can adopt some of those technologies or work with them to help improve those companies, or maybe they hope to, like in the end their aim is to like through their help make that relationship better, and then maybe like acquire them. So that I liked that division. At CS I learned I didn't really know. I think actually going into CS, because I had JP before, it's like I came in with a lot more knowledge, so it was like, okay, this is not as new, this is not as like, yeah, it's not as new. I think walking into JP on that first day and looking at the building, I was like, wow, but like it was all like, what's going on? But walking into CS after doing JP is like, okay, like we're doing this again.
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. Like when you think about a bulge bracket bank like JP Morgan, who has, which has around, almost 300,000 employees around the world, it would have been quite interesting to see how people are divided and how they're all making a contribution. Did you manage to convert any of them, or are you still waiting?
I'm still waiting. Today I got the email from JP saying that they'll start sending out conversion interviews soon, and then my CS conversion interviews next week, exactly 1 week from today.
Okay, well, I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
But before we hop off of it, because I know a lot of uni students are obsessed with spring weeks.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know what they were. So yeah.
I mean, for good reason too. Like, so much of the summer analyst class come from the spring weeks, and I think with banking as well, if you don't get a summer internship, it's incredibly difficult to break in at the full-time graduate level.
It's true.
So you mentioned that in group exercises and stuff, so this is tailored for people who perhaps have secured a spring week for the future. How were you able to, or to the best of your knowledge, impress them, basically? What are some of the things that you try to do or try to model in those group activities when doing the case study for the asset management, for example?
I think the first advice would just be natural, just be normal, just literally just be normal. So for example, like I think a lot of people have watched those investment banking videos, like how to work in a group exercise and stuff. So it's like they'll be like, okay, everyone might try and be the leader, so you should try and be the timekeeper. That's the advice that they'll give you in those videos. So everyone will be like, oh, I'm gonna be the timekeeper, but we've all watched that same video. So I would say just be normal, just be yourself, jump into the role that you think you will excel the best in. So if you know that, I don't know, technicals aren't your thing, don't try and take the technicals because you think it'll impress them, because at the end it'll actually just make you look worse because you don't know the technicals. I made sure that, because I know some of the technicals, but there's actually some people in the spring weeks that go to business schools, or they go to finance schools in France, and so they actually know technicals a lot more than anyone here basically would, especially if you're not on a course that is directly related to finance, which a lot of people weren't. So I was just kind of stayed clear of the technicals and jumped into roles that I knew that I could do better at, or another thing you could do to kind of make a good impression on the people is to involve the quiet people. So if there's a quiet person that's not speaking, try and involve them in a thing. But that's also another thing that those videos always say, so don't everyone try and be like, oh hi quiet person, let's try and involve you. So yeah, but just be normal, be natural.
Yep. And if we work backwards, how were you able to secure not one but 2 spring week opportunities?
I think because I took the whole process kind of naturally, I didn't force it too much. Because I know before I came here, I heard of spring weeks, but I was like, am I gonna do one? I didn't know that it was such a big deal that if you don't get one, it'll be so much harder for summer, and then summer leads on to the graduate role and all of that stuff. So I was kind of apprehensive about it. I also didn't know what I wanted to do, so yeah, even now I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do straight finance, or maybe consulting, or maybe even I don't know, government role. Who knows? But my thought was just at least let me do something that will keep the doors open. So it's if I can apply to the spring week and get one, and then have the option open, it's better to do that than to not do any, then decide at the end of third year, oh, I wish I actually kind of want to do finance now, and you have no experience. So I think yeah, it's just good to like keep my options open, and yeah, I think that helped me in the process to just keep it natural. Like, don't like put so much pressure on yourself. I think when you put so much pressure on yourself, it kind of makes you like trip up. Just be. I think I've said be natural a lot, but be natural. Be natural.
How many firms did you apply for? Because I've seen people have these massive spreadsheets.
Yeah,
spend their entire first term of uni basically applying, which usually involves a CV, a cover letter, and some kind of online test. And if you get through multiple rounds of interviews, so it can take a lot of time and research to tailor the cover letters. How many did you do?
So I actually only did about like seven, yeah, 7 or 6. Like I missed a lot of the deadlines for the big ones, like Goldman. I missed that deadline. I missed Morgan Stanley. I missed a lot of them because, as I said, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it. So I applied in like, I did JP in late. It's even a funny story. I did JP in like late November, and then they sent like the higher view online testing to like do that later. So it was like the next step. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, so I just left the email there for like ages. And then it was like, when was it? December. I was in the library and I was like, you know what? I should kind of let me see this email. The JP Highview is will the link still work? And I clicked on the link and the link still works. So I went home, put suits on, and did the online interview. And then that's how I got the JP one and like the next stage. And then for CS as well. Actually no, for CS I kind of like heard about the spring week before because I applied to a program back in year 12. Was it year 13? Which is called like Steps to Success. So like Credit Suisse have this thing where they give you like a scholarship throughout your whole time at uni, and like they give you, so you're basically like not employed by Credit Suisse, but they give you a scholarship, and then like every holiday you work with them. So you have automatic spring week, you have automatic summer. So I applied for that program and I didn't get in, but I remembered the recruiter. So my interview was actually with the same recruiter as well. So she's like, oh, I remember you did Steps to Success. She's like, you showed a lot of resilience to be here again. So yeah.
It's crazy how you were still able to get into JP by being so late, because these firms are known for their rolling deadline where late November usually they wouldn't even look at it.
It's closed off. I don't know, maybe
you must have really impressed them.
Yeah, and I don't know, sometimes I think it's just like God's favour. Maybe if it's something for you, if it's for you, then things will work out. That's the kind of motto I have. Like, if it's for you, things will work out. If it's not for you, then and it doesn't work out, then it's like, you don't know, maybe it could have been bad for you. So
it's a good motto. And I remember when I first met you, we were I think on King's Parade, and one of your friends got knocked out by a bicycle.
Every time we walk past that place, we like, this is where you got knocked by that bicycle, you know. And your food was all over the floor. But
it was very funny, very, very memorable to say the least. But from then on, I met you through the union as well, just seeing you around and obviously seeing kind of your achievements via social media and everything else. I've kind of always been quite impressed by how active you have been.
Thank you.
When you matriculated at Cambridge, you mentioned how that is the moment that you had looked forward to for a long time. So do I interpret that as you had always set your goals on Cambridge?
No, actually. That's the thing. I actually hadn't. So applying to Cambridge, I remember the first time it became like possible to me was when I got taken on a trip in like year 9. So my school had like a trip where they took students who they thought could get into Cambridge or something on a school trip to take a tour. So then that's the first time I was like, oh, like this Cambridge place is like cool, like yeah, this place is cool. But then I don't know, I think as I got older and like I was in year 10, 11, I started to think like, oh, this place might not be for me, like I might not enjoy it. I haven't really seen anyone that, like, I remember the first time I came, I don't know, I thought that I got brought to Cambridge, but then the other day when I went to Oxford for varsity, I was like, wait, no, this is where I was brought because this looks familiar. Cambridge, when I first came here in October, I was like, I've actually never been here, you know. Like that's what I was like, I've actually never been here, but yeah. So when I was in Oxford, I was like, okay, this is why I came. So, but when we went on that tour, they took us to like the main sites, not the colleges. So I don't know, if you go to Cambridge, you know that if you're on the main site, you're not really gonna see like young people. you're gonna see like mainly like, especially during that time. I don't think it was even like a main term time, so you're just gonna see like professors and stuff. And I was like, oh, this place is gonna be so boring. Like I was like, I'm seeing more old people here than young people. That's literally what I was thinking. So I was like, yeah, this place might not be for me. So I kind of like just cleared that from my head. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna go to Cambridge. But then there was a third year who's in Cambridge right now, and she was a black girl, and she went to my secondary as well. And I remember she saw one of my friends in the shop. She was like, oh, is Fortune still applying to Cambridge? Because she remembered that I wanted to. And my friend was like, oh, no, he's not doing that anymore. And she's like, what? So then she messaged me like, Fortune, why are you not applying to Cambridge anymore? You know, you have so much potential. You did well in GCSEs. She's like, I went to the same school as you, and I've done it. So why not? And then I was thinking like, yeah, why not? Why did I actually change my mind? So that's when I decided. That was in year 12. I decided, okay, like, I'm actually going to apply to Cambridge now. I did like some economics masterclass thing to try and put that on my personal statement. Yeah, I've been to Cambridge. So like, that's when I decided. So I just kind of like started dreaming about that day. Like, okay, like I want to get into Cambridge. Like, it was the drive. Like, okay, like I'm going to do this hard work so I can get into Cambridge. I'm going to do this hard work so I can get... And I saw like over the years as well, like I'll shamelessly say this. I would stalk like over the years accounts and be able to see like their Cambridge posts or their Cambridge highlights. And I was like, okay, no, this can actually be fun. So that's kind of like, I started dreaming towards that day, wanting to see myself in that matriculation. Like, I don't know, I just wanted my mum to like see that picture and just be like proud of like her sacrifices and stuff. So yeah, that's what I meant by like the day. But I don't know, I wouldn't say, oh my god, like I've been wanting to go to Cambridge since I was 6. Like, no, I wasn't.
That's really beautiful. It's a very genuine process of doubt and hard work and aspiration. And what I really actually like is what you alluded to about looking at other people and letting other people set the standard and being inspired by them and having other people encouraging you and motivating you. What was your support network like when you were in high school? Who did you, for example, trust, or who did you go to for guidance and advice academically, personally, mental health, career-wise? Give me a picture of your network.
So I'll say in secondary school, if I wanted advice like to do academics and stuff, I don't know. I don't think it was really like a teacher I would go to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would be a teacher. I think it would probably be like an older student that I'd seen do well in the GCSEs, and I was like, oh, like you're so cool, or like, oh yeah, so it's probably something like that. Cool. It'd probably be something like that. I would look to them, or like I would talk to my mum about it. But I remember like I was always really open about stuff that I was doing. Like, so some people would apply to things, or like they would apply to internships or like universities and stuff, and they don't tell anyone. And like, even when they get in, they won't tell anyone. But like me, even when I was applying, I would just be like, oh yeah, I'm applying to Cambridge. And like I remember when I was in sixth form, because I moved school for sixth form. I remember when I said I was applying to Cambridge, and like no one really knew me anyway. So I remember everyone was like, they looked so confused, like, you're applying to... But then I was just like, yeah, I'm applying to Cambridge. Like, I don't know. I just always just thought like, if I'm just gonna, like, if I say it, I'm just gonna say it. And like, I also feel like putting it out there also put more pressure on me to work hard, because it's like, now I've said it, I have to actually get in now, because I've said it up and down. Like, people will be like, oh, what uni go to? I'm going to Cambridge. But at that time I hadn't even had the interview, I hadn't even submitted my personal statement, but I just knew that I was gonna apply to Cambridge. So like, I remember just talking like, yeah, I'm going to Cambridge. And like, I don't know, I never had that doubt, like, oh, but what if you don't get in and like everyone laughs at you? I'm thinking, okay, but you didn't apply. Like, so it's like, at least I applied. I don't know. But that's like, I think during secondary, like, my support system was mainly my family. I didn't really look to like other teachers and stuff, or like people, or like a guidance counsellor to like make me more confident about applying. I kind of just, it was like mainly like self-motivated. Like, I was just motivating myself. I just wanted to achieve something. So like,
so I part of that was to make your mum proud, as you mentioned before.
Exactly, yeah. So, and YouTube was a good resource.
Oh right, I thought you meant make YouTube.
Oh no. YouTube was a good resource to like learn about the processes and stuff, and learn from people that had done it. So,
I would hope that there are people listening to it now, perhaps in high school, and they would think Fortune is so cool.
Let's hope.
With those people in mind, who was you not too long ago,
mm-hmm.
You know, when you look at someone's CV, you go, wow, that's impressive, but they're actually just a human being who
mm-hmm.
probably gone through that process too. what would you like to tell them? And can you not say something cliche like just believe in yourself?
No,
like, can you give us some practical things, or just from your journey? Like, I think what you mentioned about talking to older students and learning from the experience and having the courage to say hello, I think these are very practical things. But yeah, go for it.
I'll say in the beginning, if you have like a goal of where you want to be, or like a goal of your life, you need to like look for someone who has that goal. Like, don't try and copy someone, because it's never like, there's all sorts of variables and circumstances that could lead to their result being different to yours. But I think the first step is like, try and find someone that you think has like achieved what you have achieved, because there's going to be someone. If you want to be a doctor, there's going to be another doctor. If you want to go to Cambridge, there's going to be another one. So like, a good place to look is just look on LinkedIn. Look at like, LinkedIn. Just start there. You can just type in. You can literally just type in like someone, I don't know, University of Cambridge, and just look through people, and you're gonna find someone, or like the course, and then you're gonna find someone. So then, if you look at that, you can also like, I don't know if this is stalking, but you can literally look at like their education, or like the extracurriculars they've done, if they've done like this work experience, and like that's how I got a lot of ideas or things to apply to. Like, a lot of things aren't published like that, but like I remember in year 12 and stuff, I was always looking for something to do. Like, for example, Uptree, I didn't know what Uptree was, so I remember I looked through people's LinkedIn and I saw they were doing things like Uptree, and they were getting like insight days at Google or insight days at like Facebook and stuff, and then I was like, okay, so I can apply to this. So I think that's step one. Maybe try and like model around someone that you think has achieved what you want to achieve, so you can see. Also, it helps you visualize like, this is not just an idea in my head, it's actually achievable, number one. And then number two, I would say, if you have like a goal for yourself, I always said, don't say believe in yourself, because it's cliche, but like actually just believe in yourself, because like people say, oh, believe in yourself, but like you need to actually just start acting like it's happened, or like
I think a better way of phrasing it is, you got nothing to lose as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have nothing. If you don't apply, then
you won't get in.
Exactly, you won't get in. So it's like, you might as well apply, and then like, if you don't, you can go to, I don't know, LSE or something. I'm joking, no, not LSE. if you don't apply, you can still go to somewhere else. So like, it doesn't. And also, like, another thing to keep in mind is that when you see these people and like, oh, they're so cool and they've got into these, you don't actually realize that some people in Cambridge, they haven't had a conventional route to get here. They've had missteps. Like, for example, if you look at someone's LinkedIn and they have 5 experiences, they also probably have like 25 rejections on that list as well. But they just haven't.
They definitely do.
Exactly. You just can't include the rejections on LinkedIn, because like, that's just weird. But like, but yeah, like, so you need to just keep that in mind, that you might be thinking, oh, I just keep getting rejection for everything. But then if you just keep applying, your time will come, because like, if you do 2 applications and you get none, okay, that's likely. But if you do 25, you're probably going to get at least 1. So yeah, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I actually informally have like a resume of rejections where I note down some of the things I missed out, and with time I often look back and go, wow, like, I'm so glad I applied anyway. And a lot of things made sense, because there's always an opportunity cost. Even like, say, take the spring week as an example, it's a week of your holidays that
Exactly.
you could actually do something else and meet someone else, and I think things always make sense when you look back in hindsight. But 2 things I want to pick up based on your advice. You mentioned how it's important to find a role model, someone, perhaps from LinkedIn, and you can look at their education and their work experiences. So 2 parts to the question. Who were those people for you? Like, you obviously had a lot of people, but are there 1 or 2 people who you can mention here? And also, once you found those people, do you just look at their achievements, or do you actually reach out to them?
Yeah, try to reach out. So I would say probably the first one was the girl who went from my school. Her name's Oyen. She's a 3rd year law student. Okay. I can't remember what college she's at, but like,
make sure you send this podcast to
her. Yeah, I'll send it to her. And then the other one is probably Josh Adeyemi. I remember I reached out to him because I saw him on LinkedIn and I saw that he went to Cambridge. I also saw that he was black, and I'd already seen him before, like with this Eton thing as well, like the first year. So I was like, okay, this guy's cool. So that's when I was reached out and like trying to see more what it's like. And like, I also got to see like from his social media, oh, it's not actually so boring. Like, there's actually fun things to do. So I think like don't just stalk their LinkedIn. Reach out because these people can actually give you a lot of help. Like I remember I reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn that not just for that go to Cambridge, but like people that had applied to like economics because I wanted to do economics. So it's also another tip is also like don't just look for like people that are so senior or people you think are so cool. I was reaching out to a lot of like offer holders. So when I was in like year 12 to my personal statement, I was reaching out to year 13s that hadn't actually got in yet, but they got offers. But like just because someone's got an offer, that's what you're trying to get. So like even if they don't end up getting in the end, it's like okay, but they still got the offer. So they can offer a lot of advice to you. So that's what I was doing. Like a lot of them would send me like CV templates. Some of them are even like some people will even like read your CV if you just reach out to them. Like if you probably DM'd me on LinkedIn, I would read your CV. No, not CV. Personal statement. Keep saying to you, but yeah, I could do both. But yeah, I mean personal statement. So like a lot of them offer to read your personal statement, give you templates, even like direct you in places to read in. Like I didn't even know how the personal statement structure was meant to be for Cambridge. I didn't know it was different to like the other ones. I didn't know that it was like more academic and like they literally wanted the tiniest bit about extracurriculars, unlike some of the other unis. So yeah, just like some of these things, especially if you don't come from a school which have a history of sending people to Oxbridge, you need to kind of you need to be proactive and look for your own guidance counselors. Like you might not have them in your school, but you can find them somewhere. Like if you have a goal, you can try at least. Like yeah.
In our chats and also in your bio, this not idea, but we keep coming back to what it means to be a person of colour, to be black. As you went through that process, did you feel like being a person of colour had impacted you? Or how has that shaped your experience?
I think when you're a person of colour, or like for me for example, I think people expect you to think that it's going to be harder for you. But I willfully made myself ignorant to the fact that, things are, like, I know that things are harder. Like, I like to research those kind of things. Like, I've seen, like, the systems in place that have caused things to be harder. There's the history behind it, like, why we're in certain positions and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I remember one time I was in, like, year 9. I always say year 9 because it's, like, not year 7, but it's not year 11, so I'm just going to say year 9. I was in, like, year 9. I remember I wanted to do law back then. Like, I remember it was a friend that was actually black who was like to me, oh, yeah, but you know that's going to be so hard if you're black. And I was just thinking, I was just, like, I never, like, think like that. Like, obviously I know that there's systems in place, there's all sorts of barriers in place that do make things harder for people of colour, but, like, I don't want to carry that around with me. I like to just act like I can do it. Like, there's nothing that can stop me from doing it. It might be harder. There might be people that don't want me to achieve it, but, like, you need to just feel like, okay, but I can do it. Like, even though these things exist, don't let it demotivate you, because in the end of the day, if you let that demotivate you...
If anything, that should motivate you.
Exactly, it should motivate you.
Wrong.
Exactly, like, you can do it. Like, all these... You need to just remember, like, some of these things that people are telling you, you need to question, like, who informed them of these things? Like, what's your source?
Which is an interesting point, because that's a belief.
Exactly, it's a belief.
I remember back in IB, we were studying theory of knowledge in the International Baccalaureate, and knowledge in the tripartite sense is justified true belief. Mm-hmm. So one can have a belief, but it may not be true, or it may not be justified, etc. So now, having gone through that journey, and you still remember having those beliefs or being feeded with those beliefs,
mm-hmm.
Are there beliefs then that, in your opinion, based on all that you've been through, are now justified true beliefs? And are there other beliefs that are merely beliefs that you don't actually really agree is true?
So the belief that it's harder if you're black is true. Like, I've realised that is true. You see it everywhere. Like, I remember at some of my spring weeks, they would have, like, diversity panels. And, like, a question I would always ask them is, like, okay, like, diversity is all good, but what's your diversity like with your senior management? Like, that's the question I would always want to know. Like, what's your diversity like with senior management? It's all good having diversity amongst analysts, diversity amongst, like HR and stuff, but, like, what's your diversity like amongst the VPs, the MDs, the EDs? Like, what's your diversity like there? Because I think that for example, the other day I wrote a blog post for the Bank of England, and I was basically talking about like this kind of thing about how the representation that people talk about, like how okay, like there is like mobility and stuff, but I said that the representation needs to be in the right kind of rooms. It needs to not be performative, but it needs to be in the decision making rooms. And I was relating this to like policies. I said like you need to have representation in rooms where they're going to be, I don't know, like influencing policy, because until you do that, certain groups will be left out. If there's no diversity of thought in that room, certain groups will be left out of consideration when you're making these policies, and that's how we need to lead to like these problems just getting worse and worse. So I've realized that it is true that things are harder if you're black, but you need to like not let that demotivate you. Like also don't let it be your whole source of like drive though. Like I understand when people say okay, like people want to prove people wrong, but that shouldn't be your whole source. Like you need to, why do you want to achieve these things? Like why do you want to come to Cambridge? Like why do you want to be successful? Is it because you just want to prove everyone wrong, or is it because you think that if I'm in this space, I can use this, I can leverage this opportunity to help this person, or to change this, or change my family's situation, change my country's situation, for example. Even it doesn't have to be so like inspirational, like, but have a reason and like let that drive you. Don't just be driven by I need to prove everyone wrong, because I don't know. I just think it's not a good source. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I think for intrinsic motivation and for a purpose to sustain, it can't be a negative one, like prove people wrong.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. Whereas if you have a very positive vision of knowing that if you achieve something, you can subsequently inspire other people and help other people, that's very noble and more practical in my experiences too. I really like that. I find that point about tokenism quite interesting, where there may be diversity for the people like analysts and people who don't make key decisions, and this is actually a key point that was raised in the Black-owned businesses panel that I ran at the uni. I'm not sure if you were there.
I came.
Yeah. So they mentioned in VC and private equity where, there's a lot of people of colour doing IT roles or in the analyst class, and certainly on the websites and social media, but they're not the ones making decisions about the money, and therefore the wider structure still lacks diversity.
Exactly.
When did you realise that diversity and representation is far more nuanced than statistics alone and online portrayals alone?
This is why I said I have like a unique experience. So like, I don't know, a lot of the people from the like in the area that I'm from that are black or like minority, because it's like a predominantly white area, they're kind of, the way they're informed, like, the way like they view life is sometimes, for example, the person that told me, it's going to be hard because you're black, they might have an inferiority complex because of what they've been told or what they've seen. They haven't seen black people in high positions. But for me, early on, the nursery that I went to it was like a private nursery, Saturday school. It was like, not Saturday school, it was a private nursery, Seventh-day Adventist, so like a type of Christian, but like they're predominantly black, so like the whole school was black and the head teacher was black, and like you would see people's parents picking them up that are like 2-parent black households, like they might have good jobs and stuff, coming in suits. You would see like the head teacher, but again the head teacher was a black woman. So like I think that was like my earliest recollection of seeing myself in people who were in power. So I never saw myself as inferior. And then again, even at home, like my mum, she always told me like, don't have an inferiority complex, like come on, like she's probably the most confident person I know, like she's so confident. So like I never really had that. So I think it was when I realized that people did have that inferiority complex, I realized, like what is different that I've seen that they haven't seen? How are our experiences different? And I realized because people aren't seeing a lot of themselves in positions that are, in essence, have control over them or have power over them. Your head teacher basically has control over the whole school and all the teachers. So if I've seen a black woman in that position, it's like, okay, I know it's possible now. I know that this person is possible of achieving something. So I knew that I could achieve, basically. So yeah, I think that's probably when I realized, like, okay, people need to see more of themselves in high positions. Also, like the reading I was doing, like looking at history, and like I was learning about like ancient like civilizations that we had, and I was like, okay, like we've been doing stuff and we can do stuff, and like there's been historical figures that you can look to, that you can see and just get full pride. Like I remember the first image that I saw where I was like, this is like so cool, was Marcus Garvey when he was on the chariot and he had like the hat on and like he was just on the chariot with his suit, and I was like, this picture is so cool. And I was like, yeah, like this is like, he's just like, he's up there. I was thinking, yeah, like it was just, I don't know, it was just like such a proud moment. But it's like, I don't know him, but it was like a proud moment, like this is like a powerful picture, and it wasn't one that was like angry, like an angry picture, or like I don't know, like something negative, but it was like something powerful. And like everyone knew it was powerful. Even the way it was shot, you can tell the photographer pictured it, knowing that, okay, like I'm capturing someone important here. So yeah, I think that's when I really realised.
Yes, we can. Fired up,
yeah,
ready to go.
Literally.
Tell me more about representation and how that has shaped your life, whether it's that powerful scene where it gave you confidence, or whether it's times when there's a lack of representation that caused perhaps some self-doubt. What other examples, scenarios, anecdotes have you had in your childhood where it really just impacted the way you see the world?
I think that a lot of the media that we would see when we were younger, I don't know, there was like a period where like all of the media you would see of people that looked like you or black people was just like so negative, or like even like the TV programs were so negative. It would always be like something gangster, crime, or like, or if you did see someone that was black doing something good on TV, they were a footballer. So it's like, unless you could do sport or be a rapper or something, it's like that was like the pinnacle of the black community. It's like these were the, if you would say like, oh, the richest black people would list you a footballer or a rapper, and it's just like, I can't rap and I'm bad at football, so it's just like what's left for me? So it's like, other than that, it's like I needed to find, I guess, role models and like people that I could aspire to. But I found that in looking at my own family history, seeing what they'd achieved in their history, like my granddad, what he'd achieved, what he'd made for himself.
What did he achieve?
So he was a head teacher. He was a teacher in Nigeria, like during the colonial regime and stuff. But then the war broke out, like the Biafra War. So then he lost everything, and my mum was a baby and stuff. So like he just had his family, and he built like a big business by himself, like for himself, after the war, like when things were just so destabilized and stuff. So like just learning like, okay, these things are possible. Like we've had black entrepreneurs, we've had black millionaires, we've had black people that have built businesses out of nothing, and like it is possible. And you just need to look. You need to just, I think if you wait for the media to show you something, it's going to be too late. You need to have already looked for it, because by the time the media showed it to you, it's probably, yeah, you need to go and look for it yourself. You need to look for those role models. You need to like read more, or like even unconventional role models. It's not always thinking about people that are like, oh, they're so rich or powerful. Even some people that just think well, people that can help you understand yourself better. Like I would look at like scholars like Cornel West and look at things he was saying, and I was thinking, yeah, this guy's like so smart, and like he articulates himself so well, and like I'm understanding everything he's saying. Like he speaks like my pastor, but he's not talking about God and stuff. He's talking about like different kind of things, about self-identity. He's talking about economics and how that's changed, like how that is all tied together. And I was like, yeah, I like the way he thinks. And like even like Bell Hooks, I didn't really know much about her until I saw that she had died. And then that's when I started looking into her, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know, like this woman has really done a lot. So that's another source of inspiration. It's not about, oh, who's the richest and most powerful. I can learn a lot from Bell Hooks. Like I think she's cool because of the way she thinks and articulates herself. The way, like actually, yeah, the way her brain works is just
rich in thought.
Interesting. Yeah, exactly. She's rich in thought. So yeah.
What an incredible journey your grandfather has had. If you don't mind me asking, did you ever get a chance to know him?
No, I never met him. Yeah, actually, I've never met him, but I feel like there is a connection. It's like, you've never met him, but it's like it's as if I've known so much. We've seen so many pictures. It's like Yeah, but I've never met
I'm
him.
not sure if you read my reflection, my letter to my granddad last month, but it's really interesting. Well, not interesting, but it's really powerful how much our family and the older generation can inspire us. And they've had such an incredible journey, and the resilience that they've shown and the optimism they have is something I certainly take away, and I think it's really beautiful. Your mum, you mentioned, is the most confident person you know. So children often think of their parents as superheroes who just know everything, and for a very long time I certainly thought the same about the adults in my family. As I got older, however, I realised how vulnerable they are, how imperfect they are, and just how human they are. Do you, as you got older, do you think how much of mum's confidence comes from trying to be a good role model versus confidence just innate?
That's the thing. I think a lot of people when they were younger had this view of their parent, like, okay, this like superhero, they're so perfect, and then their whole world shatters when they realize that their parent's actually a person. But like I realized from young, like my mum's like, she's just a normal person. Like she even told me things like I'm flawed. Like she would tell me that like I'm flawed. Like I can, cause also she's also religious, so she would say like God is the one that is like got you the most. Like even though I'm your mum and I'll always have you, there's time I could fail you in ways that you don't know. Like I think that was valuable to learn. Like you don't get so, I don't know, you don't get so like, your world is not shattered so much. You don't get so bogged down when like your parent disappoints you, because you realize like these are actually people who are working through their own problems, their own traumas. Like obviously they do owe you some sort of like guidance because they gave birth to you, so like they have to raise you and stuff, but like they are people. And I think that it was valuable to learn that your parents are people. When you look at them as people, I think it allows you to grow closer to them, because you understand them now, and you understand like, I don't know, if they're angry, you're just thinking, okay, but you put yourself in their shoes, like I would be angry as well. But sometimes like I think it's also a lot of people, especially with their mums, especially mums, it's like the way they talk about them is like, it's just like a servant. It's like if it's Mother's Day and they talk about, oh, tell me the things you love about your mum, the things they'll describe is like, you've actually just described like a maid. Like this is what you've described. You could have described anything else. Like you haven't talked about her personality. You haven't said what you like about, I don't know, you haven't talked about what you like about her personality, other than the fact, oh, she's caring and she makes me breakfast every morning, like stuff like that. It's like when you learn to look at your parent as a person, you can learn to appreciate them how you would appreciate a person that you would want in your life, like a friend. So yeah.
There's so much I appreciate about my mum, and without going into too much detail, but she got quite ill when I was 10, diagnosed with brain tumour, and ultimately passed away when I was 12. But family is so important of a theme, and I want to understand a bit more about the values that you had in your family. So what about your mum, other than confidence, did you really admire about her?
I liked how she subverted the normal kind of stereotype of a strict African parent that's just like so on their children. You need to be a doctor, you need to read your books, and you need to do all of that. Like I think my mom gave me the space to just grow and be what I wanted to be. Like I have other siblings as well, and like she never really put pressure on us, like, oh, like, Fortune, why are you not studying? Like, can you go and read your... Everything that I did was self-motivated. If I didn't want to be here right now, she wouldn't have cared. Like she would have supported anything I did. All she ever told me was, whatever you pick or whatever you choose to pick, be the best in that, or try and be the best in that, which is something I liked. Like she said, if you wanted to do, because I used to do art, she's like, if you want to do art and take that to the fullest, then like do that. I'm not one of the parents that's like, oh, be a doctor, go to Cambridge. Like she didn't draw that into me, but it's like I chose that. So it's like every time I've chosen to do something, it's been self-motivated, and I think that's helped me to be better at things, because like sometimes if you're demotivated, or for example, if things get hard and your whole source of motivation is, oh, my mom really wants me to be a doctor, I'm not gonna do it. Like if it gets really really hard, that's not enough drive for me to keep going, or like for me to do an all nighter. If the passion is not mine, or if I've been forced into doing something. So I think I appreciate how she gave me that space to just do, like, to pick what I wanted to be. Yeah, she gave me that space to pick what I wanted to be, and I don't know what it was particularly that she did that didn't let me just go off the rails, because sometimes if you give a child space it might just go off the rails, but I don't know, I think she gave me space and freedom, but I didn't turn out bad, so I'll probably do the same.
Certainly not bad.
Yeah, so I'll probably do
We
the same.
obviously can't live a parallel life, but knowing you, do you think you would have rebelled actually if she had forced you to do things like forced you to go study tonight? How would you have responded?
Yeah, I probably would have, to be honest, because I don't. Yeah, I probably would have. I don't really like. Maybe she was like the traditional African parent, and she observed my characteristics and realized that, oh, like,
this is not a kid who you can force.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's a good thing as well, that she was able to adapt to her children instead of just like, oh, I'm this way and I'm gonna just force it on my child. Maybe she looked at me, she's like, yeah, this is not the kind of child that you can just like force to do anything. Like she even said, from the time I was like a baby, she's like, you always have such strong opinions. Like if I put clothes on you, you didn't like it, you would just take it off. Like even if you're a baby, you'll just be like, oh, take it off, or you'll cry. And she's like, you always had such a strong opinion. So maybe that's how she just learned, like, yeah, like fortune can't be really controlled, I guess. So yeah.
I hope you don't mind me asking, we can divert to a different topic, but did you grow up in a single parent household?
No, I grew up with my dad as well, when up until like year 6, and then I haven't seen him since then. So yeah. But yeah, I did grow up in a 2-parent household. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. I want to talk about your high school or your primary school experience. What kind of student were you? And I guess it's always hard to talk about yourself, so perhaps it might be easier to ask, what would your teacher's report card like, and how do you think your friends would have described you in primary school?
I think teachers always said that I was like quiet, or they'd be like, oh, Fuchi's so quiet. It was always like, Fuchi's so quiet, and my mom would never believe it. She's like, he's so loud at home, or like she'll always be like, Fuchi, you're not quiet, or I don't know. They would always be like, Fuchi's quiet, he doesn't really talk, or he's shy, he doesn't really put his hand up, doesn't contribute. But when I read his work, it's really good, so I don't understand why he doesn't put his hand up. Like they would always say stuff like that, or they'll say, oh, like I don't know, they thought I was. Teachers would often write on my report, oh, like he doesn't have confidence to put his hand up or express his ideas and stuff. But I never really thought of myself as shy or like unconfident. I just think I was like really introverted back then, and like I was never shy. Like I wasn't scared to like put my hand up and talk. I just didn't really like want to. Like I liked to just observe. Like I was really introverted back then, and I think even when did I stop being introverted? I was introverted for a long time, but then I think I kind of realized that it doesn't help you in any way to be an introvert. Like I realized quickly, like you need to come out of your shell. No one's gonna know your skills. No one's gonna know like what you do if you don't say it. Not like the opportunities won't just come to you if you don't speak. So
I would politely disagree with that, because I think actually a lot of introverts have a lot to contribute to the world, and they are severely underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And for the introverts listening, do not be scared. Lots of very talented, accomplished people I know are introverts, and there's a book called Quiet by Susan Cain. Apparently that's the Bible for introverts. So if you are an introvert, don't fear.
I should read it.
There are lots of opportunities for you. In fact, I think the world benefits from both types, if there's even a type at all, which is a whole different topic that we won't get into. But in that sense then, do you feel like your teachers, or many of your teachers, just didn't understand you, didn't know you, or did you feel isolated?
I don't think they didn't understand. I think like if you observed it, a lot of the time, I don't know. I think it was only recently when I started hearing people say that word introvert. When I was younger, it's like, you're just shy. Like that's the word they would say, oh, he's shy. Like no one really said introvert. I think now people are starting to use that term more. Like an introvert, when I think of the term introvert, I don't think of someone that's shy. I just think of someone that's more reserved, but they do have a lot to contribute and stuff. They're not scared. They're just not an extrovert. They're just not like an outgoing person that likes to like talk a lot. So I think, but back then, I don't know if maybe it was just like the circles I was in, but the word introvert wasn't used. It was just like shy, and it was always used negatively as well. Like just like you're so shy, especially because like my mom was really confident as well. So it's like she didn't really understand how you can just be so like, because she saw me in public spaces and she started to realize, oh, he is kind of shy. But it's like I wasn't. I don't think I was shy. I just think I was introverted.
When you finish school, you know, I would assume you finish at 4, 5. You get home. Then, what did you do in the evenings?
I did a lot of extracurriculars. Like I did swimming, piano, like taekwondo.
Oh wow!
What else did I do?
Did you take lessons or play for clubs? Like,
yeah, lessons.
What was the level of commitment?
So I had a piano teacher. So I used to do like the grades and everything, the exams.
What did you get up to?
5. I got to grade 5. Then I stopped because I don't know. I feel like it was just I felt like pressure, and I just wanted to like enjoy. Like I don't know. I just didn't really like what it was becoming. I didn't even like the pieces I was doing. It was kind of like I was just doing exams, and I was in primary school. I just wanted to So I stopped. But then again, Mom gave me the room to just stop. Like when I wanted to stop, she was like, okay. Like she was like, okay, you can just stop. So yeah, but I did taekwondo. I did athletics back then as well, but like not properly. Like, I would just run around because my siblings did like the proper training. I'll just go to the track and run around. But yeah, I think I was always active doing something. I was never just at home watching TV. Like I was always doing extracurricular or like at a play scheme, after school club, or like they used to have like community centres around the area, and like I'd go to them as well. So yeah.
Did you sign yourself up, or did Mum sign you up? How were you able to join these things and find teachers and have lessons?
It would always be like if I just decided one day I wanted to do. Why did I want to do taekwondo? I feel like I don't know. I feel like I just walked past. But I think I walked past like where they were doing taekwondo one time, and like I saw them just like wearing the kit, and I was like, this is so cool. And they were like doing the high kicks, and also at the time I was playing. Do you know Club Penguin, the game? I was playing Club Penguin. They had like that karate dojo, and I was like, yeah, I want to just do taekwondo. So that's why I started taekwondo. And then I got my mom to like find me a teacher, because like the one we walked past, we just went in and joined. I think everything was just so much easier back then. You could just join stuff. Now it's like there's like application online and all that stuff.
Your friendship groups, were they mainly from school or from extracurricular or a hybrid or combination? Or where did you feel like you most belonged?
I feel like I most belonged in Watford. They had this thing called Saturday School. So it was like African Caribbean Saturday School, and they set them up. There was a whole episode. Actually, if anyone's listening, I advise you watch this program on BBC 3. It was called Small Acts or something like that, and they talked about like how like Black British culture has changed like England and stuff, and they have an episode about how they started up Saturday schools to kind of like supplement Black children with more education on Saturday and stuff, to get them up to like a better level, or like to be able to it's like to inspire them as well. Like that's probably the first place where I learned about like African Caribbean history and stuff. So I think going to Saturday school, that's probably where I felt most. That's where I like belonged the most. Like I had friends that looked like me. I was learning about stuff that was related to me, like history that was related to me. I wasn't learning about like Henry VIII. I was actually learning about, I don't know. I think that's where I felt the most. But like that's where I belonged the most.
Who was teaching the the Saturday school? Sorry.
So it would be like people in the community that wanted to give up their time. So like.
So they were volunteers. They weren't qualified teachers.
No, a lot of them were teachers, but like they gave up their time to just like teach on the weekends as well.
And they weren't paid for it.
No, they weren't paid. So they would just like give up their time and teach us stuff. So we had like an English teacher, a maths teacher, and that was really fun. Like we used to even do things like shows, music shows. Like I remember I did piano recitals for them, stuff like that. Like it was really good.
That's really cool. So you almost grew up around a community of generosity and seeing people give up their time and serve, and I'm sure that would have contributed to part of your character and your outlook on life. And now that you've got so far, but obviously still a long way to go, have you tried to give back to the people who have helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, so that's like that's like one of my biggest drivers, to be able to like just give back to people. Like I always say to people, oh, like a money, like having the goal of being rich is just never enough. Like if I was to just be rich when I'm older and I've done nothing to improve my country, I've done nothing to improve my community, that would not be enough to me at all. Like I would feel like I've not achieved, basically. So like I've always looked for ways, like I joined the Black Excellence Network to be a mentor for like other students. So I got given a mentor that wanted to apply to Cambridge and stuff, and reading his CV. I'm probably going to sign up for it again for the next cycle as well. And even with the Bank of England stuff, like I applied to that because I was like, okay, like this could be a way for me to be able to help. And yeah, anyone that DMs me as well, that just asks for help, like I just send them everything that I have. Like I make sure, even now, like when I do my notes sometimes, it was halfway through the year, I decided like I'm gonna do my notes properly now on Notion, so that next year if there's like a land deck that needs them, I'll just send them the Notion.
That's very generous of you.
Yeah, because I got sent by another student when I first came, like loads of notes and stuff to help, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this as well for someone else that comes, so let me make sure my notes are good, because before I'll just have like scrap notes and pages on good notes and stuff. So I was like, let me consolidate it so maybe I can help someone.
It's a great way to live, the attitude of giving, and I think our community is just so much better, and I think the world works in mysterious ways where kindness just ripples, and one day it's going to go around the world and find you back in ways that you least expect, and obviously you don't do it for it, but
yeah.
I think it's just beautiful. We're a social species, and generosity is always good. I want to challenge you a little bit, Fortune.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind. We talked a lot about community service, about giving back and teaching and education. You just did 2 spring weeks at JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, investment banks, which don't always have the best reputation for whether that's fair or not. You know, people watch Wolf of Wall Street, people watch The Big Short. Why did you decide to apply for these? Obviously you want to open doors and opportunities, but how do you respond to the criticism that with your opportunity, why don't you say go into the non-profit sector? Why don't you devote your time in the holidays to volunteer or do something else that's more directly socially meaningful?
It's true. I did think about that a lot. Like, that's also part of the reason why I applied so late, because I was just thinking, like, do I want to go into the corporate world? Like, I know that some of these companies, like, helping people to, like, just, yeah, like, we all know, like, some of their clients are not the best people. Which bank was it that got baited out of having, like, Ukraine, like, people in there? So, like, we all know that sometimes they're not the best, but I don't know, I think I had to decide. I thought about it a lot, and I was just thinking, like, one, a lot of the people that do these, like, charity things, like, spend their whole summer in, like, Tanzania, and, like, if you notice, is actually, like, a certain demographic and people that come from a certain social economic background that have more money to do these things. Like, it's most of these people that are doing these charity trips already have a certain sense of, like, more, like, we're all privileged, but, like, have a certain sense of, like, more privilege that that's allowed them that space. But I just know that to enable me to, like, help more people in the future, I think I need to be able to, like, have set myself up a little bit to even give me leverage to even, like, move in certain spaces to make certain changes happen, or to help certain changes, like, to even be allowed in those spaces. I have to kind of, like, have achieved certain things which other groups might not have to. So I was like, maybe I should just, in this early stage, especially this such an early stage, set myself up in the best way possible, and, like, there'll always be opportunities to give back in other ways. Like, I have, like, a plan, like, I have other plans to, like, do things in the future. But yeah, like, I also think I don't like when people say, like, oh, like, I'm just gonna do stuff in the future, because a lot of people get lost like that. Like, I do remember on one of my spring weeks there was a guy on the panel, and he used to do, like, charity work in Africa and stuff, and he said no, he switched back to just doing IB. And I asked him, like, at the end, I was like, how did you go from doing all that stuff, like stuff I wanted to do, to like just going back to IB. And then like he basically described like how he's like, I needed the money literally, and I needed also to like have certain qualifications. Yeah, exactly. So I needed certain qualifications to even allow me to move on to the next stage. For example, like you don't want to be capped or trapped at like the bottom stages, so you have to kind of do things that will unlock certain doors. Like unfortunately, the way that things work in the society, like you have to have done certain things, been in certain spaces to even be allowed to have that voice. Like I say this a lot. It's like there's people that probably have the same views as me, same goals as me, but they won't be listened as much to because they go to like a different uni. I go to Cambridge, but like we both have the same views. They probably might as well. They're probably just as smart as well. But like, there is an element of luck. There's an element of being in the right place at the right time, and then there's a whole element of like certain privileges that you get from being a part of certain spaces. So you just have to leverage that in the best way you can, and don't just get caught up. Because a lot of people say, I'm going to help people in the future, and then your target will just keep moving. It's like, how much money do you want to make until you help people? That's why you should start. You can do what you can at each level while still setting yourself up.
What opportunity? So, back to the idea of role model.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any role models in mind who is currently, for example, in the corporate space, but is, still maintaining that vision? And in fact, for context, I actually really disagree with that binary of this is doing social good, that is not doing social good. I think the world is really, as black and white, is more dependent on the person and your attitude with the opportunity. And the truth is, banks are important. They do serve a social function.
Mm-hmm.
And someone can do a tremendous deal of good there. You don't have to be in Africa volunteering over the summer to be doing good. But what I want to ask is, do you have any role models who have managed to kind of use their corporate opportunities to do social good? And so basically, where are you heading to?
The sad reality is I don't. Like, I've realised that a lot of the time, if you talk to some people that are in these higher places, they might have had the same kind of goals when they were younger, and it's like they've just had to the way life has unfolded has made those goals just seem unrealistic, or like they look at you and like, oh yeah, I was like that when I was younger as well. And like I hate when people say that kind of stuff to me, like, oh, like, yeah, I was like that when I was young. Like my mom says as well, like I was like that when I was younger, like I was trying to do all that stuff. But like I think when society, the way it is so like set that you move up in these spaces, you move up and up, and you also, or like not even up, you try and move up and you're literally stuck on the same level, and then you realise that like this way of thinking obviously it's right, and I know that these problems exist, but trying to tackle it is like I'm broke. Like I'm trying to tackle it, I'm broke, I'm not moving up anywhere, like things aren't working out for me. Like we all understand that this is happening, but it's not, I'm not, yeah, like they've said to themselves, I need to be realistic, but I don't believe that that's true. Like you can achieve the things that you want to achieve, but yeah, it is hard. Like I do think about it a lot. Like I always think about this whole thing, like, oh, like I don't know, going to corporate or just like helping people. But like I listen to a lot of like these kind of pages that like to talk about this stuff, and like, well, the one thing they say is because of the way the system has been set up, like the way these systems that are in place is like it's hard for you. How do I say it? Just because you participate in a system doesn't mean that you believe in the system, but it's like it's such a strong system that you kind of like have to. So like, for example, if someone's a strong Marxist and they want to be a Marxist and stuff, but like you're in a capitalist society, you being some strong Marxist that decides to not participate in anything in that society will lead you to probably be, I don't know, like really, you have no opportunities. Like it will just make your quality of life so bad. But like, you know in your head, idealistically, this is where I stand. But it's like, to be able to live and function in society, I kind of have to participate in it, which is probably even the most jarring thing about the whole thing that you're trying to dismantle. Like I have to be a part. Like, I have to be a part of it. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. My mind might change though. I'm only a first year, so
Yeah.
And my mind might change. By the time I'm third year, I might not even go into corporate. Like, who knows? So
it's interesting how you mentioned a lot of people you spoke to. They go, oh, I thought about that when I was younger.
yeah,
This probably demands a short response from you, but it would be fair to say that if all goes as planned, you certainly don't hope to be one of them where you've forgotten your purpose and just.
No, not at all.
So with that in mind, what message would you like the fortunate at age 40 and 50 to hear? So ideally this piece of recording will be kept, and maybe when you're 40, 50 you will listen back.
Yeah.
Can you say something to you then?
I wanna actually, if I was 40 and 50, I would tell me now, because I know that I'm gonna choose these things. So I would tell me now, yeah, exactly, just keep doing it, because look where we are now. Like, we're doing what we said we'll be doing, and yeah, just keep going. Like, I remember all these things that I'm talking about to you, like self-identity and realizing myself, and like the books I was reading and stuff. I remember when I was doing all this in like year 6. Like, no one else was doing that in year 6. I was doing all this kind of things, like researching Malcolm X in year 6, and like but then I remember like my mom or other people would always tell me, oh, it's just a phase, and look at me, I'm 19 now, and it's like I'm still doing it. So like the same thing I would tell me in year 6, oh, it wasn't just a phase. Me 40, 50, it wasn't just a phase, like we're still doing this.
Great. And closely related, are there any things in life that if you hadn't done, achieved, you would probably consider it a disappointment? Like, say by 50, if you had just spent all your time working, like, are there continents you want to travel to? Are there a charity you want to set up? Is there an experience you want to have? Like, some people say they want to be a father, for example. Like, are there things that, at this point, at 19, you think you really want in your life?
I think one is having children. Like, that is a big goal for me. When you're a father, I was like, yeah, that is, like, I do really want to have children. I feel like if I had all the success in the world and then like I died at 50 with no children, I would feel so like that's like one of my exactly. Like, that's one of the things that I really want to achieve. And like, I do want to travel and stuff, but like those things are like small goals. Like fatherhood, yeah, I want to achieve that. There's things I want to like fix and replicate and not pass on. And like, yeah, I don't, but I wouldn't really live in regret if those things happen, because I don't like to live in regret. Like, I always say to people, for example, like when I was applying to Cambridge, people ask, oh, what if you don't get in? I would just say, like, things work out and happen in ways that not everything's going to be alright. Like, obviously, like, oh, yeah, people say everything happens for a reason, but like, that's insensitive. But like, I generally do think that everything happens for a reason. Like, if I miss out on the opportunity, I just like to think, okay, but what if I was on the opportunity and it just made me really depressed, or like I just couldn't cope with it and it really broke me? So like, maybe this like rejection, this redirection is now brought me to a path of more happiness. Like, you never know. There's certain things that I've been rejected from that is like, for example, the steps to success thing that I told you about with Credit Suisse, that scholarship scheme, I got rejected from it and I was upset. But one of the requirements for that was to have like a certain set of grades, and then on results day, because like we didn't actually do exams, I missed my grades for Cambridge and I would have missed my grades for that scholarship. So I'm thinking, I would have missed 2 things on that one day. Maybe that would have just destroyed me. But like, Cambridge still let me in and I got my grade pools and stuff like that. But Cambridge still let me in with that grade, but that scholarship would never come back. So it's like, either way, I didn't get that scholarship. So that's why I like to think, like, things just happen for a reason. Maybe, yeah, things just happen for a reason. It's shielding you from future pain. Maybe that thing would have destroyed you, worsened your mental health. You never know.
If you won the lottery today, Fortune,
yeah,
$100 million, or however much you need to feel like you're secure, how would your actions change? Like, how would you then spend your time? Would you still participate in the same activities as you're doing now, like the spring weeks and everything?
I had this discussion with my close friend the other week, actually. We were both talking about, like, oh, imagine if you get loads of money right now, what would you do? Because I said to her, we were talking about influencers. I was talking to her about, like, I just think that if I was just an influencer and all I did was take pictures and go out and do that, I feel like I would feel so like what's the word? I would feel like I'm not achieving anything, even though like people's
empty.
Yeah, exactly. People's
Like
achievements
meaning.
is relative and stuff, but like me personally, I would like to be achieving stuff. Like maybe I wouldn't be doing all the spring weeks. Maybe I'd put most of my effort into like building systems or like building systems that I know can help or like bring me closer to like my future goal that I want to achieve. Like maybe I'll spend more of my time doing that, or like I wouldn't have to. I think that's probably the only thing that would change, but I know I would definitely still stay in Cambridge. I'll still like finish the degree and stuff, because like no matter how much money, I still want that degree. Like I still want to like be able to tell my kids like, yeah, your dad got a degree from Cambridge. Like, I want like, but I don't know about all of the career stuff. I think that would not even probably. I definitely probably wouldn't be doing. I probably wouldn't do all the spring weeks and stuff if I had a bunch of money.
Well, thank you for your honesty. You seem to be someone who, even in year 6, you were looking up all these resources, and you're a thinker, you're a reflective person. I think you take a lot of pride in initiative. What are some of the key books, movies, or podcasts that have really had an impression, made an impression on you?
Books.
I know you read. You're a Cambridge student.
I would say recent one, Bell Hooks, The Will to Change. That's really good. Talks about like men, masculinity, unlearning like bad habits, retraining your mind. Also, like I like to, for example, sometimes reading takes out a lot of time, and what I like to think about is like, if I'm reading one book and I'm reading one book for that week, like I'm only learning one message that whole week, when I could listen to, like, for example, Bell Hooks, she has so many books, but like it'll probably take me ages to read the books. But if you go on YouTube, she has like millions of interviews on there, or like so many sit down talks. If you listen to all their sit down talks, you're gonna end up learning what they've said in those books, because a lot of these authors like repeat what they've said in the books, but like in their interviews and stuff, or like she also did loads of talks at universities and stuff, so you can learn through that. So like that's probably the biggest resource I was using, just like YouTube videos. And when your algorithm gets tailored to that, it's like more of them will come up and you can learn more. Like there's a YouTube channel called Real Black, Real, like REEL. That channel, they show like a lot of like nostalgic black film or like black programs from like the past, but like it's like a lot of speakers from like the 70s and like 70s, 80s, 90s, like those kind of speakers that you wouldn't even know existed, but like you can learn so much from them, and you'll start to realize that the problems that we're facing today are the same problems that they were facing back then. It's just like they didn't have phones, so it wasn't recorded and stuff. So yeah, I think that was the biggest resource. Like, you don't have to always just read loads of books. Listening to stuff on YouTube, or even if you're a podcast person, just listening to them, you can learn what you need to learn. Exactly. You can just learn from them. Listen to David's podcast and you can learn. So yeah.
Are there any other anecdotes or stories? Because, you know, as I was telling you, Fortune, this podcast is all about you, the guest, ensuring that you have a piece of recording that when you're 40, 50, as a father, you can listen to it and show your kids. Is there anything else you want to say before I get on to my final closing questions?
Any final thing?
Feel free to say any anecdotes or topics that you feel I haven't touched on. That's a big part of you, but feel free to say no. We've covered a lot, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't really have any others.
It's quite a comprehensive chat, Ben. Well, final 2 or 3 questions, depending on what I'm feeling. But what's one question, Fortune, that you often think about and perhaps you haven't got the answer to yet?
Is change possible? That's probably the question I think about a lot. Like, I think, how many people have tried to make change and have died early? Like, I hate to be deep, but how many people have tried to make change and have died early, or not achieved it in their whole lifetime, or have been just stuck by the systems in place. Like, one person can't change anything. You need collaboration, but if people don't want to collaborate, it's hard to achieve something if the systems are not in place to even achieve the change. How are you going to do it? Like, I think about that a lot. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's another question for me, 40, 50, like, have stuff changed? Has it? I don't know.
Final one is, we've touched on advice. I know you listened to my other episodes, so you know that usually the final question is, what's one message, quote, or saying that you wish every educator would promote and every child would internalise? But I feel like we've touched a lot on advice, and so I don't want to repeat that. But as a final question, I want to give you a chance to describe the ideal society that you want to live in. So we talked about, is change possible? So by extension, that implicitly, I'm assuming that you want to see certain kind of changes. So as a final question, Fortune, what does your ideal society, community, or team look like?
I think my ideal society would be one where there isn't so much inequality. It would be one where, like, Africa wouldn't be so undeveloped, and it wouldn't be just, and it wouldn't be like, oh, development in just my country, Nigeria. I want, like, the whole of Africa to be developed, and, like, I would want more collaboration, less conflict. That society I look for. This is sounding more and more unrealistic as I'm saying it, with the less conflict, especially in the climate we're in right now, but less conflict, less inequality, more people just, like, loving themselves and each other, like, just, like, people being kinder to each other, just understanding more, like, about each other and yourselves. Like, I think that's a good thing. I would want a society where everyone has been educated on themselves and history and their histories, and know themselves and are confident in themselves, but not at the detriment of others.
There's no doubt, Fortune, that you're a remarkable young man who've gone through a lot, and there's so much to look forward to, and I'm really looking forward to staying in touch with your journey. And
Thank you.
You know, to your question on, is change possible, I'm an optimist. I believe it's possible. I believe it's possible because of people like you, who are always pushing the boundaries, who are always thinking big and taking action. Is really important. It's one thing to dream, but another to actually put it in place and to grind it out, and to be resilient as well, and to value other people and the community. So I'm incredibly optimistic, Fortune. I just want to say thank you. You know, I'm
Thank you.
glad to have you in this community, and I hope we can stay in touch, and perhaps you can come to the CAMSIF meeting, Cambridge Student Investment Fund meeting, next year. I have some very exciting plans with my team, and hopefully you could even be a part of it.
Yep, I will definitely come along. It's been good. It's been a good interview. Yeah, I like this.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Good luck for your exams then.
Thank you. You as well.